This is Scott Bach-Hansen, Vice President for Cardinal Basketball Officials Association, IBO 255, Director of the Steve Gordon Basketball Officials Camp. I'm often asked, how does a new official get better? So this is a topic that's shown up on a couple of Facebook groups, and I recently gave this presentation to another association, and it was about a 45-minute presentation. So I'm going to try to knock this down into 15 minutes for you. So um, let's see if I can get through this pretty quickly here. So if you're new, there's a few things that you need to do to get better, and I've listed them in 7 different steps. But before I get to those, there's 3 different foundational items that you have to have, and the first is you got to have a passion to learn. Many officials, like to share their wisdom, but you really need to be a student of the craft and understand what that information can do to help you. The second thing is because you're new and everybody else that's come before you was new at one point, you tend to get a lot of information. So some of the feedback and information will be better served than others. So you've got to learn how to filter that in and out, and also learn how to show an appreciation. Sometimes you may get really bad information, where one black shoe, one white shoe, and the response should be, hey, you know what, I really appreciate that information. I think it might be able to help me. And then filter in and out what you don't want. And then the last thing is, and probably the more important thing, especially in today's day and age, is you got to stay in shape. You got to take pride in your appearance, and make sure that you focus not only on your look, but also your endurance and your speed. It will really help you with your officiating career, especially for those that want to move up. So the first thing that I would say in my step 1 is be a rules expert. And pictured here is Al Batista, who was one of my mentors. And he is known as one of the rules gurus in basketball. And Al really developed over the years from being somebody that could run up and down the court and tell a coach what page number it was on as to why it was or wasn't a foul, and really learned how to understand spirit and intent of the rule, and was really a great mentor for many officials who have gone on to the NBA and NCAA and state level high school assignments. So but the one thing I will tell you that I learned from Al is you constantly have to read the rule book and the case book continuously. It will only help you as you grow into the NCAA and potentially the professional ranks. Being the rules person, the rules guy, or the rules gal on your crew can really help you, and it can really develop your skill set. Especially if you get into the NBA or WNBA levels, you miss a rule and you're getting fined. So we want to make sure that this is our foundation. We want to make sure that we have a strong rules presence. We want to be an expert on the rules. And that will carry you throughout your career. Never forget the rules, okay? Step 2 is practice your signals and mechanics. You get in front of a mirror, practice reporting fouls, practice your signals on the violations, give your table reporting, blue 22, push 2 shots. Make sure that you're using a nice voice. It's okay to video yourself from the table's perspective as well. Do whatever you got to do with your signals. The other thing is, from a mechanic standpoint, is make sure that you not only study but understand primary coverage areas and secondary coverage areas and how they change from 2-person to 3-person. One thing you'll see a lot is that I want you to watch NBA officials, especially when it comes to their signals and their mechanics. They're the best in the world at it. When they blow the whistle, 19,000 people stop, and all television cameras stop, and they look at them. So make sure that you're watching them from just the way that their crispness of, the way that their calls snap. If you have really good signals, you can fool a lot of people with your officiating level. They may think you're a fantastic official because you've got really nice mechanics and signals, but you may not know a rule or get a play right the entire game. But you can fool a lot of people with that. So make sure you're really good at your signals and mechanics. The third is positioning. You want to be fundamentally sound, and you're going to hear this over and over as you grow in your officiating. Make sure you get the angles that you need to get to see the players in the matchup. Meaning that in this picture that I'm showing on this slide, there's not a really good angle here. There's no way that he could tell if the defender is going to slap at the offenser's ball handling skills. He's looking right in the middle of the back. So we're straight lined here. We don't have a good angle. It's an active matchup. So we really got to focus on, making sure that we have a good angle here. Okay, so an active matchup versus a passive matchup and understanding what that means. Again, this is more that you'll learn down the road, but an active matchup means the players are really close together. There's, if the ball handler is closely guarded, that would be considered an active matchup. So you have a closely guarded count, you would know that's active matchup. If they're not a closely guarded count, then you would think that that's a passive matchup, which may allow you to look into secondary defenders and get a more big picture officiating concept. And what that will do is, I kind of equate it to being a new driver. My daughter's 17 years old. She's a new driver. I was riding in the car with her the other day. The right lane was getting ready to end. There's an arrow a half mile ahead that said you needed to get over. And so I was ready for it, but she got all the way up to the sign and said, "Oh, I didn't know that the lane was ending," because she was more focused on the right in front of her. So getting that big picture officiating will really help you and set yourself up to be able to pick up more plays. The other thing I'll talk about is front foot, back foot officiating. This is an advanced officiating concept, but the sooner you get this with your positioning, the better it will be for you. Number one, on the front foot side, this is where our trail and center, we want them refereeing on their front foot, which means we want them engaged. We want them stepping towards the basket as a shot goes up. We want them stepping towards a play on a drive to the basket. We want them going wide as well. So if you're on your front foot, that keeps you engaged in the play. It makes you a little bit more aggressive. And the more aggressive our center or our trail official is, the better chance we have for a game that's called a little bit more efficiently. Whereas in lead, I want to be on my back foot. I don't want to be as aggressive, because a lot of times we might call a foul that we could have let go. Players at differing levels can play through more contact. So if I'm on my back foot and I start taking a step up and my arm raises up to call a foul, and I go, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't need to call that because he made the basket. It was incidental contact." It will help me stay away from anticipating a whistle versus blowing the whistle. Step 4, work a lot of games. Now, I say this, but you want to make sure you find a good balance. When I was in there, we were doing 10 games on Saturdays, 10 games on Sundays. I think that's too much. But you want to train your eyes. The more plays you see, the better chance that you'll have. And the better chance you'll have at getting them right the next time you see them. So the more games that you work, make sure that you have an opportunity to work on something new every game. So I'll give you an example. If I was doing a 3-game set, on game 1 I might focus on positioning. I might focusing on my front foot, back foot. I might focus on my angles. I might focus on making sure I'm staying wide and trail. I might make sure that I'm looking at passive versus active matchups. And then in game 2, I might more focus on my mechanics, my signals, my out-of-bounds signals, my reporting mechanics to the table. I'm going to more focus on how I'm presenting myself. Am I giving my foul signals crisp? Am I making a nice fist? Am I snapping them? Is my travel signal 2.5 revolutions? Whatever it is that I need to work on, I'm going to work on that. And then the third game, I'm going to work on my communication skills, not only with the coaches, but with the players and with my partner or partners. I'm going to work on being a better communicator. Many years ago, Scott Foster heard that I was giving out way too many technical fouls in rec games, and he told me I had to give him $20 for every time I called a technical foul in a men's rec game, which is almost impossible. I mean, you can lose a lot of money. But what it did is it taught me how to be a better communicator. It taught me how to focus more on communicating with people as opposed to just giving them a warning or technical foul. And truth be told, I did give Scott $20 at the end of that night, but it was worth it. The guy was a jerk. But make sure you find a good balance of games. 10 games each day is not is too much, and maybe just a couple of games over weekends maybe not enough. So find your balance. Step 5 is get a mentor or mentors, and take your time, not just the first person that you think, "Oh, wow, I like that guy," or "I like that gal." Make sure that you find the right person, and it may not always be the first person that you talk to. Find someone that has achieved what you aspire to become. So if you want to become an NCAA women's official, I would try to find somebody that is an NCAA women's official or has gone through that process already. That will help you understand that that person knows what it takes to get to where you want to become. So I would focus on that. I would also stay after my freshman and JV games and watch the varsity game. That will help me understand certain people and how they interact, and it might help me pick a mentor. Or if I'm not doing that level yet, go to a varsity game and call the commissioner and say, I'm really looking for a mentor. Can you give me an idea of some varsity games to maybe go to this week? And get the dates and times and go to those games. Sit in on the pregame. Once you get a mentor, make sure you watch the games or videos together. Have them help you understand why they had certain calls go a certain way. Make sure that you understand that. Develop a personal relationship with them as well. The more personal relationship, the better it is. If it's just basketball, not that that's a bad thing, but I think that you're more invested when you have a personal relationship. And by the way, it's okay to have multiple mentors and relationships as opposed to just one. If you want to have groups, groups are good. Go sit and watch the playoff games in a group of people. Go sit next to one of the veterans that are up in the stands. Maybe they had the game before this one that you're watching. And just say, hey, do you mind if I just sit next to you and learn? Any veteran worth their salt is going to say, hey, come on over, sit with me. Step 6 is watch game video. And again, you'll see this a lot. NBA officials do this better than anybody else. Okay, so, but when you watch yourself on tape, you have to learn how to break down a video. And I'm going to talk about that more on the next slide. But you're going to see plays from multiple viewpoints. When you're on the court, when you're watching on video, generally you have that one camera angle. Watch to improve, not to approve. So if you have a foul call, don't just sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I got that call right," and go to the next play. Why did you get that call right? Did you get that call right because you had the right angle? Because you had front foot officiating? You understood the active versus passive? What was it that caused you to get that play right? And not only that, but if you got it right, but you're looking in the middle of the back, be critical of yourself and be open to criticism from others. And make sure you chart plays with an open mind, calls and non-calls. Every time the whistle blew or didn't blow on a drive to the basket, was it a good no call or should we have had a whistle? And then, how can we get better? In this video, and I'm going to talk about camps next, but in this video is Eric Lewis with the NBA. I believe that's Natalie next to him, who's also now an NBA official, and I don't know who the third official is. Might be Ashley, but I'm not sure. But at his camp, they break down video, and they show people how to break down video, and they look at different angles, and they go through plays. There's nothing better than getting that kind of hands-on tutelage. So when you go to camps, make sure you go to a teaching camp. Make sure you go on something that focuses on your development. If you are a first-year official, you're just finishing, there's no reason for you to go to the ACC hiring camp. Well, now you need an invitation, but you're not going to go to a hiring camp. You're really shooting yourself in the foot. It's like going for a job that requires a PhD, and here you come with your high school diploma. You're not even going to get a look. So don't waste your money. Not that you can't learn in those areas, but it's just not the right time. Go to a teaching camp. Go to a camp that shows video, learn advanced officiating concepts. Ask your mentors about what are the best teaching camps that are available. If you're past your first or second year, maybe you've been to an introductory teaching camp, a 3-person teaching camp, and you want to get to that next level. I would recommend an NBA teaching camp, and I know that a lot of people shy away from the NBA game. But their level of teaching and what they can provide to you is astronomically much higher than what you can get at a lot of other places. Now, there are some good NCAA camps. Mike Eads and Roger Ayers have a great camp. Sean Hull has a great camp. But the NBA camps are great. Mark and Joe Lindsay, give you an NCAA and an NBA level. Eric Lewis does a great camp. Derek Stafford. I'm going to stop naming them coast to coast. But I'm going to stop naming them because there's so many good ones out there that are NBA level. Club Court. There's so much good stuff out there that will help you become more situationally aware and develop your awareness in your video. So I would recommend going to a teaching camp, and then your second level teaching camp, I recommend an NBA type of camp or one of the NCAA ones that I recommended or one that you can get recommended from other people. And I would really focus on that. And then that's really the end of my 7 steps. But because you're new, I got to tell you some things, what not to do. It will only help you. Okay. Number 1, don't wear a belt. We don't wear belts. Okay. That's football. That's baseball. Basketball officials, beltless. We don't wear loops on our pants. Wear the Sans Belt pants. They're made by Smitty and many others out there that are available. Don't use a crap whistle that has a different pitch. I put Fox 40 in here because that's the go-to whistle for many. It's the approved whistle by many different groups, and it has a consistent pitch to it. If you come in with an Acme or something that has a different pitch to it, I'm not saying that they're not good whistles, but you're gonna stand out for the wrong reasons. Don't walk up and down the court. If you ever hear the story about Leroy Richardson, he got noticed and then eventually hired by the NBA because of the way he hustled up and down the court in a game that was 50 plus points. Okay, don't walk up and down the court. You never know who's in the stands. You never know whose son or daughter might be playing in a game that you're officiating, and you just never know. Somebody might walk in the gym and might reach out to a NBA scout or an NCAA a signer and say, "Hey, you should really take a look at this young lady or this young man because I think that he has a great opportunity." Don't be a yeah but person. Once you get that label, you're stuck with it. There's different ways to communicate than yeah but. Take the information and say thank you. Don't take over someone else's pregame or captain's meeting. In the pregame, you'll always be invited. Hey, anything I missed, anything you guys want to talk about. It's a great time to maybe cover something, but do it in a way that hey, I had this play in a game last time, and this play brought up this rule change, and just thought I'd mention that. And so it allows you to do it in a non-aggressive manner. And by the way, at the captain's meeting, nobody is listening to you anyway. So when they say, if I'm the crew chief and I say, hey, anybody have anything they want to add? The answer is always no or good luck because they're not even listening to us. All right. Don't go in there with make sure that the shirts are tucked in. Okay, we've already lost them. And if you are leading the captain's meeting, don't start with black line all the way around. If you do that, you're just showing that you're not ready for being a crew chief. Don't ignore coaches and players, especially when they approach you the right way. If a coach or a player comes up to you and says, "Hey, ref, what'd you see on that play so I can tell the freshman what he did wrong?" If you are not giving him that information in a positive way, then that's on you. Be receptive to that type of conversation. That's the kind of conversation we really want to have. You start putting up warning signs and hand signals, and it just becomes really bad. The last two things on here is make sure that you forget if you don't never forget your crew. You gotta make sure that sometimes you're the only three you got out there or the only two you got out there. Never forget your crew. You're in this together, and make sure that if somebody is really after your partner and they're brand new and they're not taking care of business, take care of business. You're on the same team because if they're yelling at them, you're also yelling at you. So make sure you focus, on taking care of your crew. And the last thing is what not to do. Don't stop learning. I'm in my 28th season, and I've refereed at high school, NCAA. I've worked in small pro leagues, and I'm always learning. So hopefully this will help you as a new official. And if there's anything that I can do for you, or if you'd like to see this presentation at your association, let me know. Be glad to do it. I've got my email address on here as well as the website to the Steve Gordon Basketball Officials Camp, which we run every summer in Richmond, Virginia. So thanks again, and I hope you're doing well and have a great season.